Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. My name's Dan, and I'm joined by Jacob from Cutscenes.
Hi. Thank you for having me again. What am I, a sixth-time guest now?
Yeah, and I think you're first to six, so you've
Yes!
stolen the crown from Katie.
Eat that, Katie.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So we're here to talk again about another Supermassive game, like we do. This time, The Dark Pictures, The Devil in Me. Before we get into the game, though, Jacob, I know big things are coming with Cutscenes specifically, so I wanted to let you share about that.
Yeah, so I do too many content things, but the content thing I want to talk about specifically up front is I do a show called Cutscenes. I do it with Katie Lesperance and Travis Colnut, who Katie's been on the show. Travis has been on the show too, right?
Yep, twice.
Okay, twice. Okay, I was unsure because Katie and I have both been on 5 times. So I was like, Travis, yes, okay, yes, he has. So the three of us are doing a Last of Us season of the show where we're going to recap every single week after the show airs on Thursdays. You know, the show comes out Sundays. We're going to go Thursdays. So that'll start in or around January 19th. So watch the show on HBO and then come find Cutscenes to get a recap. We're fun. We're positive. We like to joke a lot. So you can find that on all major podcasting platforms. I do the Behind Game Club and video game trivia as well, but I can talk about that at the end.
Perfect. Yeah, go check out Cutscenes. Excited for Last of Us and excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. Cool. I guess, yeah, with that, let's hop into The Devil in Me. Would you want to grab our description for us?
I'd love to. A group of documentary filmmakers receive a mysterious call inviting them to a modern-day replica of serial killer HH Holmes' Murder Castle. It's an opportunity that is too good to pass up and could be just the thing they're looking for to win some much-needed public interest. The Creepy Hotel is the perfect set for this new episode, but things are not quite as they seem. The crew discover that they are being watched and even manipulated, and suddenly there's much more at stakes than just their ratings.
Awesome. Thank you. And then production background developed by Supermassive Games, of course, who we know and have talked about plenty with Until Dawn, the Quarry, the Dark Pictures games. Very much the thing Jacob and I have spent a lot of time talking about on the internet. Some significant things, I guess, regarding the Dark Pictures at large is this game signifies the end of quote-unquote Season 1 of the Dark Picture games. So I know way back when we first podcasted about it, they said something really ambitious, like we want to make 9 games or something like that, right?
Something very silly, yep.
Yeah, something pretty mind-blowing, and we were like, no way can that happen. Like, that is a goal. Like, that's a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the 4th one. Season 1 has wrapped. They've also already teased Season 2. Mm-hmm. At the end of this game, they give you a preview for the next one. And actually, early in 2022, Supermassive filed trademarks for 6 potential future entries. So it was like the Dark Pictures, semicolon, names kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that the list was The Craven Man, Winterfold, Switchback, Intercession, and then one game just named Oh Death instead of like The Dark Pictures Presents.
Yeah.
So some interesting stuff coming, including the next game.
Yeah, for sure. And as you said, 2 of them have been like officially announced. There's Directive 8020. That's the one that gets announced at the end of this game. So kind of the season premiere for Season 2, whenever that is, which typically they've given us like a date or a time frame for them. So I think most of them have been like a year later the next fall.
Yep.
But this one, there's some undetermined amount of time that's a break, it seems. And then also the Switchback one you mentioned is a VR one. So I think this will be probably one of the earlier titles on VR too.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It's coming out like in, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks from now when VR2 comes out. It's very much like Until Dawn VR, which was like a roller coaster shooter, and this looks to be the same. So clearly trying to make some cash off a concept they already did. Power to them for it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. The future seems fairly alive for this franchise, so I don't know if 4 years ago or whatever, when we did the first one of these, if we thought we'd be here. So I guess kudos to them that they're still doing it and we're still talking about them. So I think that that's an accomplishment for sure. From here, I guess next thing we can do before we actually get into the game itself is talk about some non-spoiler thoughts, maybe giving you an idea of what you might think of this game or what we thought of it, but without getting into major plot details, anything like that. So I can share one thing, and I guess we could kind of popcorn it back and forth, I guess, with thoughts we might have about this. But the first thing I had that I noticed for this is that the price went up on these games.
Yeah.
So traditionally, they've been $30. The previous 3 entries were, including House of Ashes, which was cross-gen. It was PS4 and PS5, or, both Xboxes or whatever. But this one, they moved them all. They're all $40. So the PS4 version's $40, the PS5 version's $40. And I don't know. I have a bit of feelings about that. On one hand, like, I really believe game devs should get paid well and, all this stuff. They're doing a hard job. I'm glad they're doing it. I enjoy these games. I enjoy video games, all of that stuff. Yep. On the other side, as a consumer, I felt like the value of like a half-price game for a game that's, shorter, $30 for these, I'd pay it each time without thinking about it. But for this one, paying $40, it's like a little bit of a thought. You're like, do I want to pay $40 for this?
Yeah. I mean, I played this one with my partner for the first time, so did experience the co-op for the first time in a Dark Pictures game. And so I went to the store to pick it up and, had a GameStop. They gave me House of Ashes instead of this game, so I had to go back. But in Canada, it went from 40 Canadian to 55 Canadian.
Oof.
So paying 55 Canadian really felt for the first time like exactly where you said, where I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting $55 of value from this game. Like you, paying 40 Canadian for this game, I happily did it, where I'm like, cool, this is going to be like 2 nights of fun. And like if I go to a movie, that's $20. So like, okay, I'll pay $40 for 2 nights of entertainment from this game. But yeah, $55 was kind of steep when you can get the quarry for like, $60, and the quarry is, double the length and double the meat. This, I guess, starts to make a little less sense, especially with one of the I'm going to popcorn another issue here about how this one felt a little rushed compared to the last 2 games from a technical perspective. I don't know if you had any like weird bugs or technical stuff, but at one point one of my characters like heads flipped around in a technical bug way, and I was like, I've never seen this in a Dark Pictures game.
Whoa.
Some of the transitions also, like, you could see the seams where, like, we know that, like, they have to sometimes have, like, 8 different permutations of a cutscene just, like, ready to go based on some of the choices that you make. But at times I would see, like, a 1-second pause where I don't know if it was loading or what the game was doing, but I was like, I see the seams here more than I've ever seen the seams in a Supermassive game before. Their tech is getting a little aged because this is not on the Quarry engine. This is on the Dark Pictures engine. So I hope they move it to the new engine. A lot of technical bugs here. So.
You're right. I did see that too, where the cutscene would kind of almost feel like it buffered or something.
Yes.
I did see that a few times. It wasn't like a huge glitchy mess, but I did see that a few times, and I was like, "What's wrong with the game?" So yeah, that is That's a little concerning. And I guess also in a thing for Supermassive too, I know that like your standard price range for your next console games, like PS5 games, a lot of them are $70 starting out. Yep. Or whatever now, instead of the $60 from the PS4 era. So like I know that era has changed, but I don't know. I think like you said, 40 for me or 55 Canadian for you, like it feels a bit more like a choice, which is unfortunate. Like part of me is like, should we just wait 6 months once the next one of these comes out so that it's a price we want to pay? Maybe. It's a bummer. I don't want to think about money when I want to buy a game. I just want to buy it. So it's unfortunate that this one's making us think about it.
Let me popcorn to a different issue here. So I just watched all the Saw movies for the first time, like even the bad ones. And wow. I was ready for a murder mansion. And I felt like this had the concept that excited me the most, because typically the concepts are really vague, where it's like, we're in the desert, or our bus is in the dark in a forest. And this one was like murder mansion, so you knew what you were getting into. And I don't know about you, but I think like my expectations were super high, and maybe I shouldn't have put them as high as I did.
Interesting. Okay. I feel like we're coming with different feelings about a murder mansion then. For me, this is definitely not the kind of horror I'm as into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I'm into monsters or zombies, which I guess are monsters, or haunted places, whatever. But like serial killer or true crime type stuff, for me, I was like, I'm not as into that. So I think that's good. I'm glad. I think we're a good pairing of that. We have different feels about those. I'm curious though. For Saws, did you? I know they get bad at the end. Did you like it overall? Did you like some of them? What was your thoughts for that?
Yeah, I think number one is like a good movie. You know, you can put that up against a lot of other horror films out there, and it's good. And then they just kind of go downhill. Where I think like 2 and 3 are like 2 is okay. 3 starts to get like on the downslide, and then there are some of the middle entries there that are like brutal, like absolutely brutal. And then there was actually a Spiral Book of Saw movie that came out just actually 2 years ago, and it was Chris Rock that starred in it and produced it, and it's a spin-off in the same world. And that movie was actually good too. So I think around Halloween time, watch the first Saw, because that's arguably just a good horror movie. And if you liked it, then keep going. And then if you liked the first one and watch the second, you're like, yeah, watch the third trilogy. If you're hungry for more, keep going. But yeah, number one is just like a good self-contained thing.
Okay. No, that's good to hear. I liked the first one. I saw it like when I was in high school. I haven't watched it since then, but I remember watching it in high school and just being like, this is a cool movie. Like, you know, just because horror movies or games or whatever can just be thought of like, oh, they're all bad or something like that. And it's like, they're definitely bad ones, but there is some good stuff too. That's cool, though. I like that we come with these different things. I do think, though, like you said, I did have pretty high hopes coming in, because last one of these we did with House of Ashes for the Dark Pictures, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
I liked that a lot. Super satisfied with it. Recently, us talking with Noob about the Quarry.
Yep.
Awesome time. And so, like, my Supermassive experiences recently, I would say, are a big upswing. You know, I was like, all right, I'm pretty stoked about this stuff. And even going to this, I was like, this isn't the kind of horror I like as much, but I do like what they've made, so I'm excited for what they're going to give me, you know? So
yeah. My Game of the Year list should be out by the time this comes out. The Quarry is on it. It's one of my 10 favorite games of the year. And let's just say that this game is not on that list. So I think that I'll reserve full judgment until after we talk about it.
Okay. Cool. I think that's really all the main stuff I had to talk about this. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we...
No, but you actually posed a really interesting question in our doc, and I would love to dive into it, actually.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, a question I posed was, if you could choose an actor to star in a Dark Pictures game, who would you choose? And I guess for reference, I wrote down the previous stars. So we had Shawn Ashmore starring in Man of Medan. We had Will Poulter, who starred in Little Hope. Ashley Tisdale last time in House of Ashes. And then today's game, Devil and Me, has Jesse Buckley as the star. So it seems the way these games go, so your Dark Pictures has kind of one sole star, and then it seems like the Quarry and Until Dawn, they're more a couple stars, and it seemed to be their vibe. So that made me curious. Who would you want to like star in one of these games if you could choose an actor to just like run a Dark Pictures game?
Yeah. So I have become like a huge fan of Rahul Kohli in the last couple years. You know, he was in iZombie. That was kind of the first, I guess, role that brought him to some sort of prominence in, you know, in acting. But he's been in Midnight Mass and one of the other Netflix. What one was he in?
Was he in the newest one from Flanagan?
Yeah, he's in the Flanagan verse, if you will. But he was not in that. He was in Midnight Mass, but he wasn't in like the kids one. But either way, I've really come to love Rahul Kohli, and so I would love to see him star in one of these games. If I had a choice, I think secretly I want to see him in a Kojima game more than I want to see him in like a Dark Pictures game. But I'll take Rahul Kohli anywhere. And then I also put a video game voice acting OG is what I want to see in this. So like I want to see Troy Baker or Nolan North in one of these games. Because normally they're actors that they get for this that are normally on the rise or have had like a big career, like Shawn Ashmore and Ashley Tisdale, or like, you know, child actors or had big roles when they were younger, and then like their careers have evolved over time. Or they get people on the rise. Your Will Poulter is a bona fide movie star now, and I think Jesse Buckley has that same trajectory. So I really want them to flip it on their head and like get someone who's like a video game voice acting OG to star in one of these things. Troy Baker I could see in anything, but that's just me.
I like that. That's a cool idea. I think both of those would be good. I agree. I'd love Rahul Kohli. He Midnight Mass was so good.
Yep.
I watched that this fall for the first time and was like blown away, and he was excellent in it. So.
He was.
No, that's awesome.
Your picks are so much better, though, especially the second pick you have here.
My picks. So I did Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead. He plays Aaron on there. For him, I was thinking, like, I thought he was good in Walking Dead. His character was enjoyable. Also, he's, like, really good at voice impressions. So I was thinking if you wanted his character to have a certain kind of voice, he could probably do it. He's really good at that. And then my second one was Lakeith Stanfield from Atlanta, Get Out, a bunch of other things. He might be too big for this, so maybe he'd have to be more like a Corey type of game. But I think he would be awesome in a game. He's so good in everything he's in, so I just love to throw him into a situation for a game.
Yeah, makes sense. He's the Red Skull in the MCU as well.
Ross Marquand?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he replaced whoever the original was because he could do the voice pretty well still.
Yes, because they didn't need to show his face anymore, so...
Yeah.
Because he's a Red Skull.
Right. So, yeah, he's really... If you watch a video of him, like, his, like, Matthew McConaughey's great, but his celebrity impressions are awesome. Nice. No, these are fun. I like these. We also had two people write in. Teddy on Twitter wrote it and suggested Bruce Campbell.
Good.
Which I think would be great. And honestly, after the Corey, I feel like if he doesn't show up in a game at some point, it would almost be weird because like them getting some of your kind of known horror actors in the Corey, I think that would be perfect for him.
Yeah, I want him. I want to see him in the next like full length Corey game for sure. Now, Great suggestion.
And then also we got one from Brizzy who suggested Catherine Hahn as the practical-minded proprietress of an inn filled with murder ghosts as she tries to constantly downplay the real-life killings as part of the show.
Also good. Good.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. So I feel like these are good suggestions. I'm eager to see who they'll put in their future games. You know, if we're getting all the ones we think we will, then hopefully we get some new actors that we're excited to see in a game. Okay, cool. I think we can hop into the game itself. So first up, I guess we should introduce our characters and then we can jump into our recap and whatnot. So characters, we've got Kate Wilder. She's a reporter and she's played by Jessie Buckley. So she's our lead here. Jessie Buckley, I actually haven't seen much that she's in, but she's in a lot of things that I want to watch and sound like they're good, basically.
For a long time, no, I haven't. I actually thought for a while that she was the same actor who did the lead in Control, but that's actually a different actor. Whereas Jessie Buckley, she's been in, maybe some stuff that you've seen. Men from A24 is probably the thing that you've probably seen, like the Alex Garland movie with Rory Kinnear. That's probably the thing that you've seen her in now, which just came out last year. But it sounds like she's got a couple big films coming out in the next little while.
Yeah, totally. Then I guess continuing our characters, we got Charles Lonnet. He's the director. Mark Nestor's the cameraman. Jamie Tiergan is the lighting tech. And then Aaron Keenan is our intern. So these are our 5 playable characters. They're a film crew, like we talked about at the very beginning. And then last up, we've got Grantham Demet, who's the host who kind of gets our game started, getting our characters to go visit the murder house. Okay, so our game begins, and like all the other Dark Picture games, we start with sort of a flashback or something unrelated to teach us how to play a Dark Pictures game. And so this one is a prologue where you've got newlyweds, Jeff and Marie, who are on their honeymoon, and they go to the World's Fair Hotel in 1893. While they're there, they're kind of looking around the hotel. Lots of kind of, I don't know, newlywed stuff, banter between them, but also 1800s banter, so it's a little strange. And they end up talking with HH Holmes, who runs this hotel, and it's definitely a weird conversation to me, but I couldn't tell. No one seemed weirded out by it themselves, maybe because they're all 1800s people and it felt that way for them, but it felt weird to me.
This is the experience in a Dark Pictures game the most where I'm like, oh, these characters are all going to get murdered. I appreciate most of the games, wink wink, in this series, like the characters die in this intro. to show you how to play the game. It doesn't matter how good you are at the button prompts, you are gonna die.
Mm-hmm. And so they kind of talk to him. HH Holmes upgrades him to a honeymoon suite. All good. He goes off to do whatever he's going to do. They go up to their room. Marie jumps in the bath. Her husband, Jeff, is going to go buy some jewelry for her. So she's like in the bath, has her eyes closed, and HH Holmes shows up. But she doesn't open her eyes, and so she thinks it's her husband at first. And he like puts his hands on her, and then she realizes, oh my God, it's not my husband. And HH Holmes shoves her under the water and starts drowning her. Meanwhile, Jeff is walking around the hotel, and he nearly falls through a trap door that has spikes at the bottom and blood on the spikes. But he doesn't fall, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta get my wife. We gotta get out of here. Unfortunately, he's too late. He makes it to the bathroom, and his wife has been killed, and HH Holmes is there and is like, you couldn't save her. And then you just kind of know that Jeff is also killed.
Yeah.
I don't think you see it. It just kind of cuts, and you know he's dead. And then you see HH Holmes at the bottom of his hotel. New customers are in looking at jewelry, and Marie's necklace is on display there.
And then we find out later that I don't know how many people HH Holmes murders, but it is like so many people.
Yeah, it was over 100, right? Like it was nuts.
It was a wild number. Yep.
I don't know anything about HH Holmes other than I've heard his name before this. So this was all new to me. Do you know anything about him?
No, I didn't know about the story, but he HH Holmes, like 1800s, I guess he did 6 murders that were like, he was a suspect in 6 murders. He confessed to 27, but there are many more that like may have happened that we don't know about.
Okay.
And so, it's a cool concept, I think. And definitely different than we come to expect in a like Dark Pictures game, when typically they're paranormal in some way.
Right. Yeah. This totally changed the form for sure.
Yeah, they're not paranormal in the slightest.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's wild. The whole concept is pretty wild, and the murder house and everything. It's scary and crazy.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm like, all right, I'm not staying in any mansions now. No thanks.
I'm gonna reconsider Airbnbs from here out.
Right. Yeah. You're like, if anywhere's big enough that I start to feel lost, I'm getting out.
Yep.
But also playing it super cool, like I'm going to buy groceries so they don't kill me. All right, so we cut to present day, though, and we've got our group, our characters we introduced earlier, and they make a show called The Architects of Murder, and they're having a hard time completing their last episode. They basically, from the get-go, meeting them, they seem to be a struggling show. That is like, we really want to get our true crime show off the ground. It seems like the kind of show that's like fighting for renewal at their network, sort of deal.
Yep.
And they happen to receive a call. Charlie is the director. Their company is called Lonnet Entertainment, so it's like named after him. He's kind of the guy in charge. He receives a call from Grantham Dumet, who says, hey, I've got a recreation of the murder hotel. I've got some H.H. Holmes artifacts. Hey, come here. Come spend the night. It'll be really cool, and it'll help you finish your show. And Charlie's like, yeah, let's do it. And Dumet also is like, I'll send you a car right now, but you have to decide now, basically, if you're going to do this. And they decide to go. They kind of know that what they have for the show isn't that good, and are like, fine, let's roll the dice. Like, this is weird, but like, we got to put this show out if we want to have jobs.
Let's not ask any questions about the murder mansion, or else we don't have a video game.
Right. Yeah. All definitely all too willing.
Yep.
A little bit. They get there though. Dumet sends a car, and the car takes them to like a big lake that has an island on the middle of it where this murder castle is. And they get there, they get dropped off, and they're going to ferry over across the island to this hotel. And when they get picked up, also, Dumet, like, comes out to meet them from the ferry, and he says, hey, I need you to give me all your cell phones. I'm really private. Like, I don't want to be in pictures. I don't want anyone to know who I am, you know, keep me out of this, basically. That's my, like, main rule for you to be able to do this.
Which, again, should be red flags, but again, this is a video game.
Right. Again, they're like, we really need this, fine. And so Dumet has them kind of get settled in, and he says he's going to meet them for dinner. So everyone's kind of getting there, finding their rooms, all of that stuff. And so each character, you get a little bit of time, you could learn a little more about him, whatever. The big notable thing from this is while Jamie's in her room, she looks out the window and she sees Dumet and a little girl go to the ferry and leave. And she's like, all right, that's weird. But the group goes to meet up for dinner. When they get there, Jamie lets them know, hey, I saw him leave. And they waited for a while thinking maybe he'd show up. Maybe he went to get food, something like that. But no, no one's there. They're just at dinner by themselves.
I would like to mention one thing really quickly about, like, your approach to the mansion. I don't know if you felt this way, but there was a lot of, like, running around because essentially they want you to kind of get some intel, parts of the group. So there's, like, some parts of it where you kind of have to, like, explore the grounds a little bit. I think in this part, doesn't, like, Kate Wilder like fake an ankle injury or something just so she can kind of see different parts of the island?
Ooh,
and
yes.
I don't know if you felt this way, but I felt like this was padding that was, like, you know, this added probably like 20 or 30 minutes of gameplay of, like, people just running around the island to explore for no reason. And it actually really annoyed me, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt like this game did a bit more of, it made you explore when I didn't want to anymore.
Exactly. Like, it should have been, like, a more contained thing, and there was a lot of just running around for, like, I guess no reason other than to expand the playtime of the game, if you will. Yeah.
Near the end of the game, when they'd have things like this where you were exploring, I just wouldn't even pick up the items I'd see anymore. I would just be like, how do I leave? How do I leave? Which sucks. Like, I don't want to feel that way when I'm playing a game. That's a bummer.
Same.
Which is too bad, because, like, normally lore dumps are a good thing in a game, and you would want that. And this did that some, and some of it was good, and some of it I just didn't do because I was over it. But then some of it was, like you said, where it was like, you didn't really even get anything out of it. It was just adding time walking around in a bad way.
Yeah, there's one scene in the end game in particular that, you know, they have you explore a location, and you actually discover some wild stuff in, like, throughout the course of your investigation that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't done that. But here, early game, I felt like it was a little wasteful. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying not for the, like, murder to happen in the first 12 minutes of the game, and I get it. But I wish that the things we would have done would have been more, like, central to the plot or, like, fun or significant.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So, yeah. No, that's good. Good pause. So, yeah, they have their dinner. Dumet's gone. So they're kind of like, all right, well, this is weird, but also he was kind of annoying, so while he's not here, let's just shoot everything we can because, then maybe we'll be able to get out of here and, be done being here. So they try to make the best of their situation. And so you have our group split up. Each member goes to a different part of the house to, like, explore, whether that's maybe, hey, this would be a cool spot for a shot, or I'll go back to my room and get equipment, all of that stuff. During this, you play as Aaron, who wanders into a room and then gets stuck in it, and then the lights turn out. And so she starts to have a panic attack, she starts yelling, and the rest of the group hears her yelling, and they come outside of the door. They're trying to get it open, but they can't. They're yelling for her, she's screaming. And then inside the room, we see a masked man in kind of your HH Holmes get-up walk towards Aaron with an inhaler. And you have something with sound, like a sound mic thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it looks kind of like a gun. But
It's like a shotgun mic, right?
yeah, she has that, and so she sees this creepy guy in a room with her, and so for me, I took it and tried to like stab him with it. You
Yep.
like stab him in the chest. It doesn't do anything. He like pulls it out and then he like jams it into your neck and kills you.
Absolutely wild, because like essentially nothing happens in this game up until now, and then he offers you an inhaler and you're like, oh, this is weird, there's no way I can die this early, right? You can basically die in the first chance of something bad happening, and I kind of think it's dumb, and the way you get around it is even stupider. The way is like, you need to take the inhaler or else you'll get killed.
Right. Which I don't know if that makes sense with the game at large.
It makes no sense.
I don't I mean, like, I guess maybe like the thrill of the hunt or something, but like I don't know. I don't like it. I figured the only way you'd get out is if you fought.
Exactly, because that's typically, and again, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to like buck convention or like turn the way they typically do these games on their head. But I think that the kill is unearned, and you essentially lose a character like very early for the entire game.
Yeah, which yeah, it's a bummer. I think also like if you wanted to buck the convention, I feel like you'd want like in the Saw movies where there's parts where it's like if you choose the selfless thing, that could be good. You know?
Yeah, or do the Charlie thing. The Charlie thing that happens in a little bit, I think, would have been cool had it happened earlier, because it's more obvious what the solution is.
Right.
Which we'll get into it in a few minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I just like what you know about HH Holmes. To me, I wouldn't think that taking the inhaler means he'll spare you and be like, "You're the one I won't kill now." Like
Yeah.
Instead, it's like he's just gonna kill you, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I didn't like that particularly. Your character gets killed off right away, unless you did take the inhaler, I guess. The group, though, then they do manage to burst into the door through that room, and what they find is just an empty room. No Aaron, no blood,
Yep.
no H.H. Holmes, nothing. Weird stuff. This, of course, freaks our group out, and so they're like, all right, we got to figure out what the hell's going on. You've got Charlie and Jamie who go to look for Dumet/Aaron. And then Kate and Mark are going to leave. They're like, all right, we're going to our room. We're getting the hell out of here. This is bad. While this is going on, we pick up with Charlie and Jamie, and they follow a blood trail through the mansion. And they find a groundskeeper who they'd seen earlier tied up inside of a cage, and our killer is next to him. And it's sort of like a baseball cage looking thing. Yep. And you hear the groundskeeper screaming, like, "Don't kill me, I don't want to die." The masked man's just sitting there, and they like run into the room and see what's happening. And Charles steps on this platform that's like part of a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, if Charles steps off of the platform, then this blade will fall from the ceiling and kill the groundskeeper. And so you're met with your like dilemma of like, oh shit, what do I do? I can't move from here because that guy will die. What's going to happen? And our killer then walks to the front of the cage, and there's kind of a square that's cut out, and he reaches his arm out and puts a knife up to Charles, and kind of makes you move. He's like, he's gonna kill you by cutting you if you don't step off. So he like cuts you a little bit, and you have to step off. The blade goes down, kills the groundskeeper. Oh shit, it's on.
Yep. We didn't even talk about like the creepy dinner, like how every person had a doll or like a mannequin, because mannequins are happening throughout this, and I don't know if it's now or later, but he sets up mannequins around the dinner table. So like this is when like there are mannequins that are very that are basically the same as you, and their eyes may be real eyes from people. And then we see him kill someone in front of you. That's when you know, like, oh no, it's game on.
Yeah. And the whole house is creepy in itself. It's like filled with these weird doll animatronic things, like Barbershop Quartet and like other weird shit like that.
Yep.
Or even like HH Holmes dummies that show up at different spots.
Yes.
This game had a fair amount of jump scares, and most of them got me. And like, on one hand, kudos to them for getting them. Also, I hate jump scares. So I just like, there were multiple times where I just like a rattle in my chair because they got me. So I don't know. I'd say kudos to them since that's what they wanted. But as Dan, I was like, damn it.
Yeah. There were a few times that I got this time around. So congratulations. You jump scared me, guys.
Yep. For sure. Also, when they see this groundskeeper get killed, the whole house like locks down. You see bars like go across the doors, like you can't get out of this house. All of a sudden, like you kind of realize, oh my god, I'm with a killer, and I can't get out. Like it really raises the stakes like immediately. Basically, now the characters know this is bad.
Before you just had production boxes in front of the door, but now you're caged in.
Right. Let's see. We pick up with Kate and Mark, and you have them talking about their relationship. They'd recently broken up, so they kind of dialogue a little bit about that. And then after they talk, they hear Charlie and Jamie, and they try to reunite with them, but a wall closes between them before they can reach each other. Yep. Which also brings, like, oh my god, this house, like,
yep,
we're in a murder house. Like, not just, this wasn't just a hotel.
Yep.
And before this, you did experience, I think, wandering around and the rooms being a little weird. Even in the beginning part of where you're like getting familiar with the hotel, right? Where there's lots of locked doors. There were definitely times where I was in hallways and I was like, that seems different, right?
Yep.
So it did feel like that a little bit. But now the characters also know this. They're like, oh, fuck, we're in this maze.
Yep.
We continue with Charlie and Jamie. They're trying to find a way back to the others. They end up getting separated because Charlie falls through a trapdoor.
Yep.
So not only do the walls move, but the floors can too.
And that's when like the next major thing happens, where Charlie is essentially caught in a furnace room. And I remember this really well because it's like a room that's fairly small. There's cigarettes on the ground. You pick up the cigarettes, and then like really quickly, one of these like mannequins pops up from the floor, and then the temperature just starts like rising really quickly. HH Holmes is outside the door and essentially is just looking inside the door. Shuts the grate on the door. It's almost like one of those like secret club doors, and the window he closes it, and this mannequin has a lighter in its hand, and there's gas being fed into the room, and that's when the mannequin just like lights the lighter, and like fire just erupts in the room, and really quickly you're given the choice of either try and force the door open or lift the grate. And I think in both cases we decided to lift the grate to try and like essentially hide underneath the fire. But this was actually a cool scene.
Yeah, I thought the scene was really cool. I thought it was super well done. I think also whichever one you choose doesn't work the first time, so you have to choose it again, right?
Yes, exactly. They make you double down and be like, lift door, open gate, and then neither works, and then they make you choose again, lift grate or open door, which like that's cool, so that if you try one and then go to the other, your character dies. But really you have to commit to one of the options twice for your character to survive.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And so for mine, he did make it in the grate. What did you do?
I also made it in the grate.
Okay, so I did the grate. We both did the grate. And for me, at least watching this, the way they filmed the scene was cool, but I thought he died.
Same. Big same.
Because they've got all the fire going. He's inside the grate, but he just looked kind of melty. Like maybe the grate like boiled him or something, like being under it.
Because I think I remember like him even being like, the grate's hot, so it was hard for him to use his hands to lift it. So I was just like, oh man, he's probably dead. This sucks. I lost another character.
Exactly. That's how I felt. Is I lost another character, and for me, this is probably where I got mad at the game, and like suspicious of it.
Big sigh.
Yeah, suspicious of it. Because basically, I thought I died, and I was like, what the fuck? These games are supposed to be a choose-your-own-adventure, and I've had 2 characters just die, and, like, do I not have agency? Is it just our killer is going to kill all my characters? I don't have a choice.
Yep.
Like, it felt like that, which sucks, because then that had made me feel like I had an adversary relationship, not with the killer, but with the game itself. I was like, okay, this game doesn't actually believe in these choices. I only can die. Like, that's what it made me feel like, which was very unfortunate to feel that way.
And it's very different because usually you feel like you have a lot of agency in these games.
Yep.
Where like, hey, you could basically get out of almost anything. I think 95% of the time, like there's a way to get out of a thing. Sometimes it's a low percentage thing, but you always 95% of the time you have a chance to get out. Where here I'm just like, oh, I'm screwed either way. Like maybe I shouldn't have even been in the situation to begin with.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I felt. Which is too bad. You know, like you have 2 characters killed and you're like, oh, they were just destined to die, like automatically.
Yep.
That sucks. Like it felt that way. We find out that's not true later, which was good. But it was unfortunate thing. And my headspace, I guess, getting into this. So now we have 3 characters left, seemingly. And Jamie is able to reunite with Kate and Mark. So, okay, we're all together. And they explore this abandoned spa. While they're inside it, they find out about the construction crew that had built it and then were killed there. You find, like, their IDs, you find some notes, you get some lore. Basically, this place got built. I think they hired, like, a replacement construction crew, like, last minute.
Yep.
But then maybe unhired them or did something weird where basically they brought in 5 people, killed them subtly, and kept going. You also find Aaron's dead body in
Woof.
This was horrific. This was awful. Like, I mean,
because you're in a ward and like you come upon her and correct me if I'm wrong here, but like her heart is just missing, right?
Because they have it like something beating on it because the heart monitor was going, right?
Yep.
Ugh. So her body's dead, but you hear the heart monitor, and then you get to her, and she's like cut open, and you see there's like, I don't know, something I guess inside the heart to make it beat, even though she's long dead. Oh, it was awful. Really, really scary. I feel like well done by the game doing it. Definitely gross. This is the most gross I feel like I've felt in these games.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they nailed that. Kudos to them.
And although in this one, I know when we talked about the quarry, I brought up the concept of like kill your gaze as being like a very common thing in like horror.
Oh, yeah.
And in this one, they fell into the kill your gaze trap because Aaron and the other female character, Jamie, they have a like they tease a relationship between the two of them or interest in the two of them.
Yep.
And hey, they kill your gaze. It happens, and I get it because this is a game of like. All these characters can be killed, but I feel like this one just kind of walked into it where they maybe bucked the trend a little bit more in the quarry in comparison.
Right. Especially that for us, Aaron got killed immediately, so it didn't feel like she even had a choice or that you had a choice to like have her survive.
Exactly. I bet you if you took, because these games don't give percentages of like how many people did what, which is a little disappointing, but I understand that it's like, it's probably a difficult thing to pull off. But I bet you that 70+% of players lost Aaron in that first thing because your thought wouldn't be, take the inhaler he's going to give you.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I would think a lot of people probably had her die.
Yep.
Then, which is a bummer to lose a character that quick in a game like this. There's I guess actually, I'll say it now because she's dead for both of us. I was reading online is apparently there's this storyline where if Aaron survives, she hears some tapes that HH Holmes makes or whatever that make it seem like Charlie's in on the killing with them. Yeah,
because there's a path you can take that essentially Charlie shows up dead, like spoilers, outside of like on the cliffside, and he's got the words complicit carved into his chest as a part of that storyline, and he's got like, you know, script pages that are bloodied, like stuffed in his mouth. But I guess the implication is that the tapes have been fabricated, which is kind of funny because like Erin is a sound engineer, and if she's a really good one, she should probably be able to know when a tape is doctored.
That's true. Yeah, if someone should know, you'd think it should be her.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, that's like kind of a cool thing that I didn't get because they were dead already. But after seeing Aaron, though, our group gets separated again because the killer shifts the house to separate them to kind of pick them off one at a time. You have this happen. Kate and Jamie get split by a wall moving that puts them on separate sides. Mark falls down a trap door. Mark, falling down the trap door, finds himself in Dumet's workshop. I had Mark get captured here. I just wasn't paying attention and didn't hide when I should have, so he got drugged. We then pick up with Charlie, and Charlie's alive, actually. He gets out of the grate. He didn't die. He goes out of the room, and he goes into another room, and there's a part where there's this waste disposal with, like, these turbines.
Yep.
And stuff. And you have to go across it, and then you find the killer across from you and is, like, getting ready to start them when you're trying to get out of the grate.
Yep.
For me, I was still mad at the game. And I kind of wanted to see what would happen, so I let Charlie die here and let him get graded. And it was gruesome, as I thought it would be, but I was kind of mad because I'd counted him as dead, so I was like, oh, you can't. I was just like, I'm mad at you, Dark Pictures. So Charlie's dead for me. I assume you did the QTEs and got out.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So in this case, Charlie lived for me.
Okay, cool. That's good. I'm actually curious about what happens with him. I was just mad when I was playing, so...
You're just like, go ahead, Charlie, just die. Thanks, bye.
Yeah, I was just like, fuck you, Dark Pictures, you can't live anyway. I was just feeling that way, so... After that, though, I did kind of rein myself in. But I was mad in that section of playing. Jamie and Kate also in this section explore separately, and they find out more information about the killer. This is probably a spot where you get a pretty good lore dump. You find out that the guy who you saw, who was introduced as Dumet, is actually a horror fiction writer, right? Named... I forget his name. It starts with an M. But you found out him and his family were the ones who were staying there. Morello, I think is his name.
Yes, Joseph Morello.
There we go. You find out that he was there before you, and that's who you had posing as Dumet when you met him.
Yep. And you kind of, over time, you learn that, like, every person that was lured there had a good reason to be lured there. In that case, Joseph Morello's like, maybe I can write about this thing. I can get inspired, blah, blah, blah. Even the one thing that we haven't really talked about at all is the FBI, vignettes that you get throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Which was really different for a Dark Pictures game. And I actually thought that it was pretty cool. Typically, you don't have these sort of, you pick up a thing and there's this narrated... experience with some like visual elements going on screen. I thought it was cool and different for a Dark Pictures game.
Yeah, totally. And alongside those, you get the story of a killer in Chicago, right?
Yes, exactly.
Who, like, I remember one of them was a cop he'd killed, and you find some of that cop's stuff maybe here, but he'd killed him in like an abandoned house or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Among other things. I think you got some FBI interview tapes maybe from it too.
You did as well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you got cool information, I would say, throughout the game, but there was this section here where I felt like you got a lot of it. And you just had, okay, this guy's... the guy we thought is Dumet isn't. There was a killer here. That was Morello. Some weird shit's going on in the background, besides this person trying to kill us. Our group reunites. Jamie and Kate do, and they find the control room, and they find out how like extensive this house is. This is super cool. I don't know, it's probably like 3 or 4 floors, like a circle, and then another floor, and it has like an elevator going up and down, just full of like levers to shift the house, computers monitoring everything, like everything's here.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked at like how elaborate, because the thing looks really old timey, and then you like discover, oh no, this is a high tech house, but just the tech is hidden.
Yeah, which super cool. I like this a lot. I thought that was really interesting. They come up with a plan to basically trap the killer by moving the house. So one of them, Jamie, will act as bait. So run down this certain hallway, and then Kate can shift the house, and it'll be one where he's just trapped between four walls. There's
What
no
a stupid
doors.
plan.
He
What a
can't get
dumb
out.
plan.
Yeah.
This is his house.
Yeah, you'd think that because it's his house, he knows all the combinations of how the house could go, Like, I don't think it would work. Something this made me think when this happened too, I know the game couldn't let you do it for the game's sake, but if I were in this situation, I would just destroy all this tech. Like, I'd be throwing the computers,
Yes.
because
Totally.
then at least he doesn't have as much eyes on you, Even if you're going to get killed in the house still, like, I would make it harder.
Yeah. Quickly discover, like, how do I get out of here? Not how do I trap the killer? I mean, I guess I understand. It's just like you would think that he would have some sort of backup plan. If, like, people get in my room, do I have a button or a key that can just, like, lock them out or get me in? Like, guys, come on. Think of this. Like, find a way out and run.
That's true. He probably has a secret key fob that's not in his HH Home getup, but he has it in his pocket so you can't see it. Like,
Yeah.
He's probably thought about it because,
Yeah.
I mean, he seemingly killed tons and 180 some people because you had that counter. That
He knows how to do this.
Yeah, he's clearly way better at this than most, and certainly anyone who will probably be up against.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's their plan. And their plan does not work out well. And Dumet chases after them. He kind of chases them out of the control room after the plan doesn't work. And they end up kind of through two sets of rooms, and they end up in this spot where it's each of them on the opposite ends of this glass wall. So Kate's on one side, Jamie's on the other. And the glass starts moving towards Jamie, but it has a button on it that says reverse which way it goes. So either the glass is going towards Jamie and it will smash her unless she hits the button, or she can hit the button and it'll smash Kate. Pretty nuts. For me, I had Jamie kind of be defiant here, and I was like, fuck you, like, I'm not playing your game. I'm not gonna do what you want. So I had Jamie just kind of ready to get crushed. But it ends up happening where it doesn't go all the way and smash her. And I think I had the screwdriver as well. And so...
Yeah. So tell me about that, because that's how you have to get out. So one character has a screwdriver. So my thought was, and I'm an idiot, because in this case, Jamie had a screwdriver for me, and I should have just let the wall happen, because I'm sure what happened is she puts the screwdriver, like, between, herself and the glass, and pressure gets put on one specific point, and it probably shatters, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I think that's what it is it just
Okay.
ends up breaking because it doesn't smash all the way. It just, the force breaks it or whatever. So...
Yeah, that would have been smart, but I was being defiant, and I did a bad thing, and I had Jamie push the button, which squished Kate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's gruesome. I can describe it in detail, but basically what happens is, like, her face, like, imagine she's, like, the side of her head, she's looking at the side of the wall, and then it gets to the point where, like, it smushes, and, like, everything comes out of the top of her head.
Oh...
Yeah, it's like, it's not that gruesome. It happens so fast, but, like, imagine her whole brain comes out of the front of her forehead.
Oof. That's brutal.
Yeah, not good.
There are some brutal deaths in this game. They definitely go there. Oh man, that's wild. Okay, so at this point we each have 3 then, if we're counting. Aaron is dead for both of us, Charlie's dead for me, and then Kate is dead for you. Okay.
Yep.
So Dumet then, after this, begins chasing Kate and Jamie for me, and they climb on top of the house. And here you've got several of those, like, for me, Kate hides inside one of the lockers and has one of those breathing segments where you have to hit the breath in the right sequence to not get caught. My group, Jamie and Kate, no one gets killed on the roof, but they do get knocked off of the roof here and fall into kind of the grounds below kind of thing. And what happens for you here?
I actually don't remember what happens in that specific instance, because my mind immediately goes to Connie, because Connie happens right after this, right?
Yeah, on the grounds that Connie shows up. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So you probably just had Jamie have that sequence and get knocked off the roof, basically.
Yes,
So.
exactly. And then drop into a maze where you have to do some like. And again, I didn't love the maze sequence because I think that it was it was kind of difficult to navigate. They kind of work this game like a traditional action adventure game where like they probably want you to go through a maze, but you don't really have a map. And so I just felt it was kind of annoying, and some of the puzzles that you had to, use to get out of this maze were like I felt unnecessary and just again added padding in a way I didn't want.
Me too. I felt annoyed by the maze, and one of the times when I was playing, I'd played for a while, and I got to this and just kind of got lost for a while, and I was like, all right, I'm done playing today. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow. I'm annoyed. I need to stop. So, yeah, I get how it could have been cool. It just didn't work for me at all. Meanwhile, Dumet's chasing them. Also, I guess this whole kind of time with Dumet from here on out, it's sort of like a Jason sort of thing, where like Friday the 13th, where he's just always behind you a little bit, kind of walking slowly as you're running away. That's sort of what happens a lot with him.
Yeah.
So,
imagine the Jaws theme in your head of dun 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 dun.
yes, exactly. This part is probably a little different for us. So for me, Mark wakes up near the pool after he got drugged. Mm-hmm. He escapes out of the pool and comes outside. While he's outside, he sees like the dock, but he can't do anything there. But he sees the lighthouse and is kind of like, okay, I can use the lighthouse to maybe call, I don't know, the boat police or whatever and get help. So his kind of goal is to head there. Does Mark basically show up, get to the beach sort of similar to that for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Does Mark meet up with Charlie here, or is Charlie not shown up for you?
Charlie and Mark do meet up at this point.
Okay, cool. So for me then, Mark has to get across the cliffside. As he's doing it, he runs across this curing facility, and he meets a dog named Connie, and pets Connie. I liked that. Also, when I was playing, an achievement came up of "Can you pet the dog?" which I thought was fun.
A famous Twitter account that is fantastic and you should follow.
Yes, yeah. I was like, love it. Love the the Twitter account impacting real life, all that. It was great. I thought that was really fun and was like, that was cool by Supermassive to do that. So make a dog friend, but then Mark makes his way through the curing facility. Meanwhile, Connie leaves. In this part, our killer shows up. Mark has to hide inside of like a dumpster, essentially, to evade being caught, and that's basically what he has going here.
Did you spend a lot of time in this facility? Because this is, I think, the lore thing that I had talked about earlier, that like this is when you find out exactly what Dumet is doing to the bodies, and it's actually kind of crazy.
I spent some time in here, but I didn't linger as much as I maybe should. What kind of happened?
Okay, so this is when you discover exactly what he's doing to the bodies, and again, my understanding of it is that he essentially injects these cadavers with a series of different chemicals that end up like changing their composition to make them turn into the animatronic bodies that are strewn about. So the bodies that are throughout are actually like converted cadavers.
Okay. I did see all the people like curing, like the people hanging.
Yeah. So essentially, like he injects them, and maybe I'll just like find a little more information about exactly what he pumps into them. But he's like just pumping them with drugs to make them harden.
Ugh.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so gross. It's so nasty. So creepy here. Yeah. Then, for me, I pick back up with Kate and Jamie, who are making their way to the farmhouse on the grounds. When they get there, inside the farmhouse, they find Connie trapped, who has like a stick stuck in his collar, and he needs help. And they help Connie out, but Dumet's still on their trail. They go hide inside the farmhouse in a room. before Dumet gets to the door. Dumet comes in the door, and Connie starts to growl. And you have the option, before it's like loud enough that Dumet would know, Jamie pulls out like a broken glass bottle and can kill Connie to get Connie to be quiet or not do anything. For me, I'm not going to kill a dog. Sorry. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, same. Not doing it.
Not doing it. I don't care. So I didn't do it. And Dumet kills Jamie for me. Comes in with an axe and just smashes it down on her head.
In my case, it's only Jamie in there because my Kate is dead. And so Jamie survives with Connie.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine has Kate and Connie running away. Yours would be Jamie and Connie getting away here. I was disappointed to lose Jamie here, but I'm not killing a dog. Sorry. Not happening. I was like, I would kill any... It wouldn't have mattered which character it was, like, even if it was my favorite one or something in one of these games. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Sorry. Can't do it. Meanwhile, we've got Mark, who makes it to the lighthouse, and he ends up turning the lighthouse on. This big light beam's going across the lake, letting them know, someone's here. You have a part where Kate and Mark meet up at the lighthouse for a second. You have this part where Dumet tries to use Mark as bait too, right? Where he like ties him up in different clothes or something and has him in the closet.
I don't remember this part because my Mark wasn't captured.
Oh, right. Yeah, yours was... Okay. Mine had something weird like that, but then Kate and Mark escape together and head towards the dock. Is, I guess, where it ultimately gets. Do you have a group of people running to the dock as well?
I have Charlie, Mark, and Jamie.
Okay, cool. Okay, nice. So we've got our crew of people heading to the dock. They get there, and a police officer shows up, and he gets to the on the dock. You see Morello dead. His dead body there.
Yep.
And the cop like pulls out his gun and wants to arrest Kate and Mark, and it's like, what's going on here? We got to arrest you. And we're like, there's a killer here. Please arrest us. Like, let's get out of here. But the police officer is flustered. And then, I don't know, like a Molotov cocktail or something lands on the boat and explodes it. While our group is like, the boat, look at the boat. And he's like, what boat? And then Dumet shows up, and fucks the cop up. He like hatchets his hand off.
Just murders this cop in cold blood.
Yeah. Just kills him. Meanwhile, our group that survives, Mark had found a boat key during his like searching before this, and we see a boat not too far down the way, and we're like, all right, let's go to that boat. So for me, Kate, Mark, and then Connie the dog shows up and jumps in the boat with us as well.
Yep, Connie is in the boat with me as well.
Okay, so they get on the boat. You have sort of your tense, like, oh fuck, we gotta go. Start the engine, trying to pull the cord, all of that. You see Dumet show up. He tries to like swing the axe down, and then the boat kind of speeds away. You don't see Dumet on the shore, and you're like, oh my god, we did it. And you're on the boat for like a minute, like, okay, maybe we made it. But then Dumet like pulls himself up on the boat, and then you have like an all-out brawl basically going on where there's tons of QTs. I think at this spot, basically anyone could die or survive based on how this goes.
Yep.
So for mine, Connie gets thrown off the boat first, but is okay. And I was glad that Connie was out of harm's way.
Yeah, I would have been really sad if the dog died.
Yeah, 0 out of 10. You killed Connie. It would have felt that way. Yeah. So Connie gets thrown off the boat. During the fight, so I've got Kate and Mark fighting Dumet. During it, there's this anchor thing that gets shoved into Dumet's chest, and then he basically gets kind of pushed, and part of the chain from the anchor gets caught into like the motor that's spinning, and it pulls him down kind of off the boat and towards the motor, and then you see a bunch of blood behind you. And then Kate and Mark jump off the boat because it's about to crash into some rocks. It crashes into the rocks. We pick up on shore. Mark and Kate make it to the road where there's a truck driver coming. He sees them in the road. He stops and helps them. And they're saved. They made it. Did yours go this way?
Yeah, it went really similarly. So, thankfully Connie, again, I would have been really mad if Connie would have died. That's the only person I really cared about. I'm like, Connie, not person, dog. I'm like, Connie has to survive. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is expendable. Mm-hmm. And so in my case, I had those 3 just remaining people and, rescued by this truck driver. And I don't know how you felt about how it went from here, but I didn't love how they ended the game. Because normally in a Dark Pictures game, without giving major spoilers, typically they're pretty closed-ended. This is a finite story in an anthology, but surprise, this game is not open-ended, and they leave for an opportunity for Devil in Me 2.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Me neither.
It ends with for me, Mark and Kate are talking all right, we survived. We need to move on with our lives, basically, sort of deal. Yep. You end up then picking up with a group of students. One of them had a video that went viral, and they won a free trip to some castle somewhere. And so her and 5 of her friends are going to go to this castle from, I think it was still Dumet. They still use the name Dumet, which is kind of weird because he probably should use a different name now.
Should probably change his name because he's out in the news now.
Yeah. I wonder if they did that so that people wouldn't be dumb and not know. Because you'd think he has a different name instead now. But they want a trip to stay at his hotel somewhere else. You get a news report of our hotel that we were in getting closed down. They found more bodies, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it sets up a potential Devil in Me too. I also don't like that he survived because he seems like he should have been dead based on how much blood was in the water. And I think that's the only thing that made it feel supernatural. I was like, I've seen you stabbed a number of times. Are you actually Jason Voorhees? I don't know. That I didn't
plot armor.
Yeah.
That means and look, I understand it's a game and he's a villain and he can't die throughout the game. So he's going to get impaled, hit with an anchor, whatever, but I was a little disappointed that this game wasn't finite, that it wasn't ended, especially with this being, in my opinion, one of the weaker games in the Dark Picture series. This is the one that they're going to leave open-ended. And I get it. Maybe if they do a sequel, it'll be better, but I just don't know how you do a sequel to this game because of the format they're doing. The next game is clearly not going to be a Dumet game. So does that mean it's going to be 3, 4, 5 years before we get a sequel to this game? Or will we even get a sequel?
Right. Did they just want us to know he's still out there killing? I don't know. I think what's a bummer for it is that he didn't just die here because of how it looked. It looked like he died. I could also accept, when we tried to kill him with Aaron, sure, obviously the killer's not going to die at the beginning. I don't know, maybe he's wearing, I don't know, a big metal plate over his chest. I could buy that. Sure. But, now it's he looks dead. But also, the other ending of the game, I guess there's an ending you can have, at least with my 2 characters, where Kate and Mark won, where if they get captured by Dumet somehow in this fight, you can have them back trapped at the murder castle.
Yep.
And Kate's strapped up to something where acid will go into her brain.
I looked at this and I watched this because it's like a secret ending, right?
Maybe something like that. I just had read about it. So you watched it. Was it cool?
It was cool, but it basically leaves Mark is now going to be involved. He's going to be the new Joseph Morello and help Dumet with his further killings. It was fine. It was very Saw-esque. In my mind, it was probably the most Saw thing that has happened. And again, I'm just using Saw as a comparison point. I know they're very different, but it was interesting. But there's been other cool things in this game. It's not like it was oh my god, you must play this game and get the secret ending. It was just cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel for that, I'm the Dumet being alive and the killing continue. Super down with that. If that's how your ending got you. But for ours, where it looked like he died, I feel it should be over. I don't know. But, the killer's still out there, I guess. that's Devil and Me. Kind of recap wise. Next, we wanted to move into maybe some general thoughts about the game, maybe stuff that hasn't come up, whatever. One thing I have that we didn't talk about too much is I understand that the story of this game, like, you have to get lost in the murder house to, have it be that way, or in the maze, but it made playing it a lot less fun. Like, I wish that, like, maybe at the beginning of the game, if you would have just shown how you could get lost in this a bit and stuff like that, but then you didn't have to experience it in the same way. I think we would have, I don't know, I'm like, would I have understood, like, I know you get lost here, but instead I felt like, as I was going through this, I'm like, God, I have to go to every room, I have to click every door, and, it felt a bit more that way, and it made it less fun to me. I don't know, maybe that's, required thing that comes with a murder house, but I don't know, I didn't like that.
Okay. I think that's fair criticism.
Cool. No, that's good. I'm like, I don't know. I know it's the murder house, so I get that you do need to feel trapped, and I did. But I also felt annoyed, which I don't think was intended.
It just felt like it again, it's the filler thing of like, why do I have to go to every room to make sure that and the amount of like doors that you walked by, I don't know if this annoyed you, but there are some doors that you just walk by that like they have like a X over them, or like one of those like stop symbols to basically be like, you can never get in this room. Then why do you even have that? Why is the hallway 3 times longer than it needs to be if it's just going to be a bunch of doors that I can't even touch?
Right. Yeah. I found myself just jogging through a lot of it at the end too, of like, I'm just jogging because I know I can't do most of these things. And at the end, when I wasn't picking things up, I was like, all right, is this the way out? Oh, it's not? Okay, I'll go over here. Like, and I don't know. I think it just didn't match what they wanted it to feel like, probably, for me.
Some of the like levels in some of the other games, like I felt like the ship for Man of Medan was enormous in comparison to this, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but there's just a lot of filler in here, and I get why they did it from a narrative perspective, but you don't have to like it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, agreed. Did you have any other things that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I guess for me, I wanted to mention that there again are whole scenes in this that like we didn't see, that I don't know if you watched the breathless scene or saw the breathless scene afterwards.
I read about it. I didn't watch it. So it's where Aaron and Kate are trapped, and then Jamie makes a choice.
Exactly. Essentially, you have to choose to kill one, where like the air in the room comes out of the room, and one person suffocates to death. So there, some of the coolest scenes like you never see because of and I get it. That's the nature of this game. So you can go back and do additional playthroughs. But some of the coolest scenes like we missed because a character got offed so quickly. As far as me, I think I mentioned most of what I wanted to talk about. Like, hey, some scenes. There's a lot of filler. Don't love the ending, how it's open-ended. There's technical difficulties. Did you mess around with the curator's cut versus the theatrical cut? Because I know it's the thing that's been in all of the games. But I wanted to see. I played this one co-op for the first time, where like my partner took 3 characters and I took 2 characters, and we kind of played it as we went. I think sometimes it ended up being a little bit unfair because the 2 characters that I chose like had long sections back to back. But again, that's like there's no way to prevent that really. I mean that is what it is.
What characters were you?
I think I picked Kate and Charlie.
Okay.
So there are some sections that are like it's a Charlie section followed by a Kate section and they're long. But again, that's not really a criticism. That's just like how the cookie crumbled in my specific situation. But did you mess around with the curator's theatrical cut, or did you play it once and you were like, I'm good?
I just played it once and played it the regular way. So I didn't go back. I did read a little bit about it, and saw that like with the curator cut, you will play as different people in different scenarios.
Exactly, yeah, and there's I think one specific scene that is there's a party scene that is like in the specific curator cut that is not in the other cuts. So I didn't really know this about the previous games, but in this game there's there's 2 scenes that are specific to curator's cut.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not normally one to go back and play games, these kind or otherwise. Like I don't tend to go back that often.
Same.
But I like that as a feature. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, I imagine for someone who likes to replay them, like, they probably would like that a lot. I think for me, I'm just such a, like, the first time I play it, whatever it is canon, even if it's not something I like. So, like, if I'm playing, like, a Telltale game or Detroit Become Human or something, and my favorite character gets killed off, that's what it is. Or I played Mass Effect 2 earlier this year. One of my favorite characters died.
Cool.
And I was like, well, crap, I can't go back because I don't believe in it. But I also lost one of my favorite characters. So I don't know. I think that's how my mind goes. But I bet going back would be really fun.
Yeah. I do want to say overall, and I know that we've kind of alluded to this, but I didn't want to say it up front. I think that this game really disappointed me. Between like the filler and the weird choices around killing characters, and then like the technical difficulties. At one point, one of my characters' heads was backwards as I was like walking, as I mentioned before. I feel like this one is either the worst or the second worst Dark Pictures game. And like the same year where we got the Quarry from Supermassive Games, this is just super disappointing. For me, it's like my second most disappointing game of the year behind Mario Strikers Battle League.
Oof. Okay. That's not an award they want to get.
Yeah. I mean, high delta between expectations and what we got.
Totally. I think so too. I think if we hadn't had... Like, if this was the third release of the Dark Pictures, and it, like if it came out when House of Ashes did, maybe I'd feel differently about it. But because coming after House of Ashes and after the Quarry, definitely a hard fall.
Yeah, and look, I hope that they take some time. I said this when we talked about the Quarry. I'd rather get a Quarry every 3 years than get one of these every year. I don't know how you feel, but like, are you gonna keep buying these?
I think where I'm at is, I think as we said earlier, we both talked so much about Supermassive at this point, and I really like their games in general. Like the concept, I want this to live. I don't want this kind of game to go away. So I do want to support it. I like what they make overall in a general sense. And I want them to keep getting made. Like I want more Dark Pictures games to exist. That said, I don't know that I'm going to buy them day one. And also I like talking with you. So like really, I think the Dark Pictures are a really good excuse for us to get together and talk about them. But now I do feel like in my mind, I would almost be like, if it's a Quarry or an Until Dawn style, like longer game, I would play that, day one and want to hop on the mic with you. For these, I feel a little more like, I'll wait 6 months and get it for a price I'm more down with. Yep. And then I would hop on a mic with you then. That's how I sort of feel.
And I think we're going to need a year break as well.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get.
Right, yeah. It seems like this year for Supermassive, it's going to be that VR game and maybe something else.
Or maybe they take a much-needed break. Because listen, like, making games is hard, and I think they're probably going to want to move Dark Pictures onto the Quarry engine, which... maybe there's more work that's needed to like streamline it because these games have to come out every year. Mm-hmm. So maybe they take a year break. And look, if there's not a Supermassive game besides the VR thing that comes out in 2023, I'm cool with that. These guys have done so many games, most of them bangers in the last like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. Yeah. So look, if they don't want to put one out this year, that is fine.
Totally. Yeah. I kind of expect, like you said, I wonder if 2024 will be the next Dark Pictures. Like, and they should take that break and all of that stuff. Like, they deserve it, all of that stuff. Making games is hard.
Supermassive, please stop.
But I don't know. I think that's my overall feel for them. Are you kind of in a similar spot for Dark Pictures, or where are you at?
Yeah, like I said, The Quarry is one of my favorite games of the year. It's probably like, if I had to rank top 10, it's probably 8 or 9 in my top games of the year. I think The Quarry is like the second best thing that they've ever done besides Until Dawn. Mm-hmm. And to have this come out at the same time when this is probably the worst, you could put either say like Hidden Agenda or this is the worst thing they've made. So yeah, I'm with you that like, let's take a break. on these games. I adore you. I adore spending time on the podcast and talking about this kind of stuff with you. But I think that we're going to put the Dark Pictures on a shelf until there's some distance between when it comes out and people playing it. We're not going to grab it day one. We're going to let it breathe a little bit. And if it comes out in 24, maybe you'll see me again in 25 to talk about the Dark Pictures.
Right.
That's crazy to think about. 2025.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a real year. That is wild. But I'm glad we're on the same page, I think, about these, because I don't know. I hope they blow it out of the water. I hope the next one of these comes out and everyone's like, this is so good.
I never want a game developer not to succeed.
Yep, same.
Anyone who does has a problem and should get help.
Agreed. I agree. Totally want them to succeed, want them to do well. But I think this is an unfortunate end to their season 1. For it. We talked a little bit about it already, but I think that this could be a good final discussion. We've gone through season 1. We've played 4 Dark Pictures games. How would you rank them now that we've gone through all these?
I think that this is a little cheating because I know what your list is. I think we have the same list. So in my mind, it's like there's a clear divide between the good ones and the not so good ones. And like House of Ashes and Little Hope, in my mind, are the good ones. I think Man of Medan had some challenges because it was the first one they were doing. But there's some cool stuff in that game. And then Devil in Me, I think, unfortunately, is at the bottom of the list. In ways that felt rushed, in ways like it didn't deliver on the concept. It wasn't paranormal. There was a lot of filler. So yeah, I guess for me it's House of Ashes 1, Little Hope 2. Those are the great ones. Man of Medan's okay. And then Devil in Me is definitely like a challenge.
Yeah. Yep. I feel that way. And the tiering as well is how I would tier it as well. Because like Man of Medan, perfectly okay. I think when we played that way back when, it was like, all right, this is an all right game. I like Supermassive. I want more. Little Hope gave you that like step up, and you're like, all right, these are getting better. House of Ashes, another like little step up. You're like, all right, this is getting better. And then this one was like, ooh, I like it less than Man of Medan. That's too bad.
Which again, Man of Medan was a challenge, but that was more just like they were finding their footing, and like some of the questions, some of the decisions they made, I just questioned.
Yeah, and I think I felt more forgiving then because it was the first one, like you said. This one, they've made 3 others of these. Like, I wish that they figured it out a little more. And I feel actually a little bad about it too, because like we were talking about at the beginning, like Jessie Buckley might end up being the biggest star out of any of these actors. And she unfortunately got saddled with probably the least good game. So that's a bummer. Because, you know, like she seems like she's been in and will continue to be in pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Will Poulter, man, like who knew he was gonna be? He's a Marvel dude now.
Right, that's true.
Yeah,
wild. Okay, cool. I had some people write in who some of their opinions vary from ours. So Rebecca on Twitter wrote in and said, I like them all a lot, and I ought to for the number of times I replay them, but I have a pretty clear favorite to least favorite. Number 1, Man of Medan. 2, Devil in Me. 3, House of Ashes. 4, Little Hope. So pretty different than us.
Mike on Twitter said, I've only played House of Ashes and Devil in Me. I've heard the other 2 aren't that great. I prefer House of Ashes story-wise. I definitely had more characters I wanted to survive in TDIM, The Devil in Me. I'll give House of Ashes the nod just for the bonkers twist for the villain's origin.
Nice. Eli on Twitter said, Man of Medan, House of Ashes, Little Hope. I still need to get Devil in Me. So, more Man of Medan love.
Paul on Twitter said, from worst to best, Little Hope, Man of Medan, The Devil in Me, House of Ashes. Interesting. Okay. Put House of Ashes at the bottom. I don't know how that's possible. That is arguably the best one of those.
Yeah. Then Justin on Twitter said, House of Ashes for first, Little Hope, Man of Medan, Devil in Me. It's the same as us. So, okay, some variety in there of which ones people like or have resonate with them. Last, there was a little bit of listener feedback that was more just general, that we got in also. Mike on Twitter said he found the game weirdly lacking a twist, at least one as big as a Supermassive game usually goes for, and the identity of the antagonist was a letdown. pretty tense, creepy, and as close to a proper slash fic as they've gone as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, the House of Ashes, it was more of a monster movie, but like it felt like a slasher style monster movie.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It felt like that while you're, in the tombs and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
That was cool.
Rebecca on Twitter said, I'm nearing the end of my second playthrough right now. I think I'm ready to call it my favorite Dark Pictures game after Man of Medan, narrowly beating House of Ashes into third place. Gameplay-wise, they're about even for me, but I like the characters in Devil in Me more. Did you like the characters in this game?
I felt neutral. I think my favorite ones were from House of Ashes still. I really liked the Salim Jason combo in that game.
Yeah, I did as well, and I think that the characters in Little Hope were interesting too. I still think I'm thinking now of Little Hope, man. The concept or what that game is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that was I like that one. I thought that was cool for sure.
Spooky magic.
Yeah,
without saying more.
Right. Rebs on Twitter said glitchy as hell, but more immersive than the other games in the series.
And then Paul on Twitter said, I liked it. It's my second favorite Dark Pictures game behind House of Ashes. Was super glitchy playing with a friend, though. Agree.
So it seems like I don't remember offhand, but I don't remember glitchiness coming up too much in the previous ones, except for maybe Man of Medan.
Yeah, that's exactly what my brain went to, that Man of Medan was a little rough because it was the first one. And then this one it felt rushed in a way that I wasn't expecting. Because I would imagine they have two teams at Supermassive, or like they have some flexibility to put less people on these games versus the Quarry. But maybe a lot of people were busy. Like people got pulled off this game to ship the Quarry, and it hurt the game. I don't want to speculate, but like that seems plausible to me.
Right, and like I don't know if it did need more time. I feel like you could have delayed this because you put out the Quarry that year. It's fine.
You don't have to arbitrarily hit your like. Again, I don't know anything about Bandai Namco and their expectations on things, but like, I don't know. They could have taken their time with it. I think they could have delayed it 3 months, and I think it would have been fine.
Right? Yeah, I would have hoped for that. I would be interested too, I guess, big picture wise, of creation for these, because I know that they use a lot of the same character models game to game, and will add a new character or two, but then they'll use them again for other games. Where it's like, oh, this character model was in Man of Medan and then also in House of Ashes and, all that kind of stuff. So I wonder what the division of like reused assets versus new ones kind of looks like. I don't know anything about making games, so
neither do I. I'm dumb when it comes to making games.
Yeah, I imagine there's lots of challenging things, but I would be curious to know. Like, I would want to know. I think that's
I would
cool.
love to talk to someone at Supermassive just to understand their production pipeline, like, because they essentially have and again, I don't mean to demean them in any way, but they have an A game and a B game, an A game that comes out every 3 years, and then these B, or at least like they had Until Dawn, which now came out probably close to 10 years ago, and then they do Hidden Agenda, which is that PlayLink game that I keep trying to get you to play. And then they put out Dark Pictures, and probably while they're working on those Dark Pictures games, they start on the Quarry. So I just want to get in like the head of their studio's brain to understand production split between these two games. Like, when did you start the Quarry? When do you like start on each of the Dark Pictures games? How far ahead are you on Dark Pictures, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, that would be really interesting to find out, like how that all gets, and I guess that each game gets like there's teasers for them in different Dark Pictures games, so like they at least have pieces of ideas.
Did you watch any of the bonus features on this one?
I watched the trailer of the Directive 8020 or whatever, and going to space, that seems cool.
Yeah, that's definitely not the place I thought we were going to go, but here we are.
Me either.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get like an alien kind of thing, like something like that.
That'd be cool as hell. But I think that I started to watch, there was an interview with Jessie Buckley on there, and then I started to watch it, and then she said, like, I don't really play video games, but I was so surprised at, like, how much production goes into these things, and I was like, oh, it's one of these, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, that would be a turnoff. I'd be like, never mind.
This that just means to me that it's just going to be kind of a generic interview where they're just going to be like, "This technology was incredible," and I'm like, "I'm good."
Yeah, you're like, I don't know if I need that. Cool. No, I think that's really probably everything we've got for this game. Did you have any other things you wanted to talk about it?
No, I think we've covered it all. My sixth time on the show, 5 talking about Supermassive games. It sounds like we're taking a break from these for a little while.
Yeah. Unless they come out with another full standing game like the Quarry. Then I'd play that right away.
Exactly, but we're probably 3 years from that. See you in 2027 for that.
Right. A long time. Yeah. We'll have to take a break and reconvene sometime down the way. Or other games. I guess there are plenty of other good stuff we can chat about for sure.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. Cool. Well, I guess what we should do before we wrap up then is give you the floor again to tell people again about cutscenes, the other work you do, whatever you'd want to plug.
Yeah, so I do too much on the internet. Like I mentioned on the top of the show, I host a podcast called Cutscenes. It's a video game, movie, and TV podcast that Dan will have to get you on at some point once we're through our Last of Us season. But we are starting the Last of Us season where we are going to talk about each episode after it comes out. So watch the show, listen to our recap. That starts on January 19th. You can find Cutscenes on all major podcasting platforms. I host another show called the Left Behind Game Club. It is similar to this show where we do book club, although I think if you compare and contrast our shows, Dan, you're really focused on story, and then we're maybe focused a little less on story and a little more just on the game holistically. But you can find that, again, the Left Behind Game Club on all major podcasting platforms. And then I host a show called Video Game Trivia, which, Dan has been on, and we just do that on YouTube seasonally. You can find that at youtube.com/Jacob McCourt, and you can find me at Jacob McCourt on all major social media platforms. I would say I'm on Twitter while it's still here, and I'm on TikTok as well as on Hive if you're on Hive. Although that platform seems to have died. That's what happens when you go offline for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was sad. I was really excited to migrate, and then I couldn't get on.
Everyone. I feel like there was some wonderful momentum for it, and then they're like, "Oh, this platform is not safe at all, and we need to spend 2 weeks offline to fix it." And then people never came back to it.
Yeah, bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Also, I guess for cutscenes, I think on your last episode when we did Tomb Raider. So if you're looking for one to start checking out,
you were.
Yeah, but we should do it again.
Look at me, my brain just bleh. Oh, sorry, Dan.
No, you're good. It was a while ago.
What shows have I been on? And we've done this at least 10 times, but whose show where? Thank you for correcting me there.
No, you are good. You are totally good. But yeah, go listen to Cutscenes. Cutscenes is great. I looked forward to Last of Us episodes for sure, and did enjoy all the other ones I've listened to. It's a fun show. But cool. If you want to find more for us, our Twitter's @StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. That has all our backlog of episodes, including all the Dark Pictures and the Quarry that I've done with Jacob, as well as Before Your Eyes that we did with Katie. That's not Supermassive, but is a great game, and you should play it. If you'd want to support the podcast financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, you can get a monthly bonus episode that's topical in nature. Sometimes video games, sometimes not. So we've done things like our favorite Pokemon, or I watched all the Star Wars movies this summer and then ranked them. So if that sounds like something you'd want, go check that out. If you'd like to support the podcast but can't financially, that's totally great. If you just want to share it with a friend or post a review on Apple Podcast or something like that, that would mean a lot. I think just being able to share games with people, I think that's what really makes this fun. Playing games by yourself is cool, but getting to share them with others is much better. So, yeah, I'd appreciate it if you'd share. And, yeah, that's the episode, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!